get started. Everybody, if you could come around.
That's me. That's my emoji. But that's you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, let's get these signs up here.
You should be in front. I'm not wearing
I know it's a block. You cannot cross. Yeah, why don't you guys move up? Come on. Get around. Come on. There you go. I gotta help you.
Hello. We're going to start our press conference now. I'm Congressmember Judy Chu from California's 27th District, and I'm also the chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, or what we call CAPAC. It was only last week that President Trump issued one of the cruelest orders he ever could, the end of DACA, forcing 800,000 young people to face deportation to countries that they do not even know. Well, we are here to say we will fight for our dreamers. Today, I'm so proud to be joined by our congressional leaders. Soon we will have House Democratic Leader Nancy Pelosi and Senator Mazie Hirono. But today we also have House Democratic Chair Joe Crowley, Congressmember Pramila Jayapal, and we are also joined by Congressmembers Barbara Lee and Congressmembers Colleen Hanabusa, all of whom are so committed and are here to say with one united voice, we will use every means possible to pass a DREAM Act bill, and that means starting with votes on such a bill in September. We are here to fight for the 800,000 dreamers, including the 130,000 Asian American Pacific Islander dreamers who were brought to this country as children through no fault of their own. There are over 7,000 DACA recipients from South Korea, nearly 5,000 from the Philippines, over 3,000 from India, nearly 2,000 from Pakistan, and there are thousands of other DACA recipients that are Asian American Pacific Islander, and they all deserve a chance to achieve the American dream. In a short moment, we will hear from our incredible congressional leaders, but first, I'd like to acknowledge the reason we are here and invite one of our dreamers, Ivy Tang Lei from New York, to share her story. She's a Chinese American DACA recipient and works as an advocate for immigrant communities. Ivy.
Thank you, Congresswoman Chu and CAPAC, for having me here, and everyone for really giving us the space to talk about our stories. My name is Ivy Tang Lei. I am a member of OCA Asian American Advocate, a current DACA recipient, and a dreamer. My family and I came to the United States in 1998 on a visitor's visa, and with no way of renewing our paperwork, we decided to stay after falling in love with this country and the promise for a better future. I was 7 years old when I arrived. Of the 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States, around 1.6 million identify as Asian American Pacific Islander. Like so many of others in my situation, I follow the American Dream rules like it's my Bible. Living in the shadows was a very accurate way of describing my way of life. We never caused trouble, never asked for what we were given more than what we were given. We were perpetually afraid to attract anyone's attention. And since we couldn't afford babysitters, my siblings and I spent most of our time in my mother's garment factory, where she worked as a sewer. Without any access to financial aid, I worked multiple part-time jobs to pay through college. And since graduation, I've gone from working at the Gap to working at a large marketing firm, and now I'm employed at a tech startup. I also try to give back to my community by serving on the board of Baruch College City University of New York, as well as various nonprofit boards. I am literally living the American dream. People like me who came to America as children are currently without papers are the reason why the Obama administration introduced deferred action for childhood arrival. DACA protected us from deportation. and nearly 800,000 young people currently benefit from it. When the program was first introduced, I was hesitant to apply because it meant that I had to expose my status to the government. In the application, I was asked for my travel documents, where I lived in the last 10 years, my educational record, my fingerprints for an extensive background check. DACA gave me a temporary relief from deportation, a 2-year work permit, a 9-digit social security number that I can use to work, get health insurance, and travel domestically. However, I'm not the only immigrant giving back to America. From farmers on the field to DACA recipients like me, studies after studies have shown that the contribution of undocumented migrants far exceeds what we're eligible to receive. With demand of labor outpacing supply, our economy profits from the existence of undocumented immigrants, yet it simultaneously denies us the right to exist. But there are more than economic reasons for this madness to end. Our country was founded upon the very principles this administration has waged a war against. Now America risks forgetting that it is immigrants who make our country great, and revoking DACA was a betrayal on every American value. This is the only country I know. I pledge allegiance to the American flag. I sing the Star-Spangled Banner, and I'm proud to be an American. But my American identity has been challenged every single day. Dreamers like me have become a political football thrown around with no end in sight. With 800,000 of us, and DACA rescinded, we will lose our jobs, the economy will suffer, and the information we have given the government will paint a target on our backs. Deportation officials may come after us, take us away from our home, despite the fact the majority of Americans favor giving a path to some sort of legal status. The DREAM Act was first introduced in 2001, 16 years ago, and today our country and the Congress has 6 months to decide which side of the history we want to be on. We demand Congress from both sides of the aisle to come together for a clean DREAM Act now. Thank you.
And I'd like to acknowledge that we've been joined by other Congress members, Congressmember Madeline Bordallo from Guam, Congressmember Mark Takano from California, Congressmember Grace Napolitano from California, and Congressmember Grace Meng from New York. And Congressmember Linda Sanchez, our Vice Chair of the Democratic Caucus from California. And now we have the tremendous honor of introducing our incredible House Democratic leader, Nancy Pelosi, who has fought every step of the way to make sure that we have a DREAM Act bill and that we pass it as soon as possible. Leader Pelosi.
Thank you. Good morning, afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here with the dreamers who are perpetuating, advancing the American dream. With their courage and their optimism and their inspiration, they make America more American. So I thank all three of them for being here and all of the dreamers who have stepped forward. I wanted to just say something to this caucus, and it's I'm so glad that representatives of the Hispanic Caucus are here, and representatives of the Congressional Black Caucus are here, because we're all in this together. And I thank Congresswoman Judy Chu, who has been a champion on comprehensive immigration reform since day one, since she arrived here, and as taking the lead right now and demonstrating to America how many people are affected across the board. So a week and a half ago, I was in Chicago, and I saw this art exhibit that I was invited to see. It's called "And Then They Came for Me." And it's about the internment of the Japanese-American patriots in our country who were interned into camps during World War II. While their family members were fighting for freedom for America and for the world in World War II, they were in camps, and they came for me. And now they're coming for the dreamers. This is something that we owe these dreamers for their patriotism, their courage, their optimism to come forward. But it's about America too. What the fight is for who we are as a country. They are the manifestation of that fight right now. But we cannot let them come for them. And so while the president thinks that giving 6 months time for Congress to act, we want to do that sooner. We want to do it within 6 weeks. And hopefully we can by supporting the DREAM Act that is in the House and in the Senate, both houses. But we must pass something before we leave for Christmas, that's for sure. But in doing so, we will not only be protecting the dreamers, we will be protecting the integrity of our country. So thank you for dreamers for being stronger than anybody, and for actually taking some risks for your families to keep America the country we take pride in being. Thank you for your patriotism. With that, I'm pleased to yield back to our distinguished chair, Judy Chu. Thank you.
And now I'd like to introduce our Senator Mazie Hirono from Hawaii, the first Asian American woman ever elected to the U.S. Senate and the first and only immigrant to serve in that body.
Wow.
Senator Hirono.
Thank you, Judy, and Leader Pelosi. Always good to see you. I'm glad to be here with my colleagues from the House to talk about how important it is for us to take action on the DREAM Act immediately. I was brought to this country when I was almost 8 years old. I can't imagine any other country. Of course, English was not my first language either. I cannot imagine any other country where I could have dreamt the dreams that enabled me to become a United States Senator. This is all that the dreamers want. There's a reason they're called dreamers, because they want to dream the dreams that I got to dream as an immigrant to this country. And so there are some 600 of them in Hawaii who have come forward as dreamers out of perhaps some 2,000 who would be eligible. And I want to make sure that everyone understands that dreamers come from all walks of life, from so many different countries, including Asian countries. About 10% of all those who are eligible to become dreamers are from Asian countries. But we know that many of them have not stepped forward. Why? Because they may have a greater fear of the government having the information that would enable government to find them. And perhaps, as Leader Pelosi said, the experience of the totally unjustified discriminatory targeting of 120,000 Japanese Americans during World War II may cause the Asian community particularly to have these kinds of fears about giving government information to enable them to find them. And right now, they are facing deportation thanks to the president's actions in doing away with DACA, with albeit a 6-month delay effective date. But you know what? If you're a person who's here, you just want to be able to get on with your life, go to school, be able to go to college, be able to work, 6 months is a very short time to be thinking about the prospect of being deported. So something that the president had in his power to do, which was to maintain the DACA program and then to fight against all efforts to do away with it, he did not do. And that is why we are here. We need to stand up. And thank you, Ivy, for telling your story. You're going to hear from 2 more dreamers who have very courageously stepped forward to tell their stories, but replicate their stories 800,000 times, and the millions of DACA eligible young people who have not stepped forward. And I'm sad to say that unless we pass the DREAM Act immediately, these young people's fears will come to pass, and we cannot let that happen in our country. So mahalo nui loa to all of you for being here. Aloha.
And now I'd like to introduce our House Democratic Caucus Chair, Joe Crowley, who is a longtime CAPAC member, has a huge AAPI population in his district in New York, but fights for AAPI immigrants all over this nation. Congressmember Crowley.
Thank you, Judy, very much. And let me thank Senator Hirono. She never stops amazing me. Like that, huh? Yeah, you're very welcome. You can use that. Here I thought I came up with that, amazing me. I'm so pleased to be here with CAPAC. What the president did last week was immoral and at best was cynical. To use young people who are striving to make the most of their lives as cultural Americans and give back to this great country that has given so much opportunity to them. I want to say to all of them that we will not stop. Our caucus will not stop. We will find whatever vehicle we need to get this bill passed, to ensure that the Dreamers were able to continue to enrich their lives here and contribute to their country, America. They are cultural Americans. As I've pointed out, over 800,000 of them, almost 1 in every 300 Americans, they are Americans, cultural Americans, can call themselves dreamers. But the truth is, we're all dreamers. Every American is a dreamer. That's what our country has been based on. Immigrant dreamers have come here to make America the great country that it is, that it was, that it is, and it always will be. These are American children, American young people, in their hearts and in their minds. And we cannot rest until we see that a DREAM Act is passed. And I just want to ask Ivy if she'll just come back up for just a moment. Although she's from Manhattan, her parents live in Grace Meng's district in Queens, but we also have something else in common. We both hold degrees in communications from CUNY, don't we?
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't have been able to tell that. But she's not a political football. She's a real person, Mr. President, skin and bones, with dreams. Don't deny her dreams. Your mother wasn't denied hers. Don't deny her dreams. And with that, I'm pleased to turn it back to you,
Yeah.
Judy? Okay, good enough. Thanks, Ivy.
Congressmember Pramila Jayapal is so inspirational. She came by herself at age 16 from India as an immigrant, and now she's a member of Congress and, in fact, chair of our CAPAC Immigration Task Force. Congressmember Jayapal.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Chu, for your leadership, Joe Crowley, Nancy Pelosi, Mazie Hirono, long a shero of many of ours who watched her take on issues in the U.S. Senate on behalf of immigrants. We wanted to do this press conference because it's important that people understand how widespread the impact of the rescinding of DACA is and how incredibly widespread the improvements and the chances would be if we were to pass the 2017 DREAM Act, a bicameral, bipartisan bill that we are now demanding we pass cleanly. And so I wanted to start by telling a story of another DACA student, Amy Kele, who's a nursing student and a healthcare worker for the elderly. She's the oldest of 3 children, takes pride in being able to help her grandmother support their family. She provides for her 3 siblings, and she's an active member of her church and looked to as a leader at the University of Washington, right in my district. Amy is shy, but she's full of heart, and she cares deeply about her family and her community. And she is undocumented. Her family moved from Fiji to settle in Everett, Washington, staying on their father's student visa. And things changed when Amy's parents left the United States to attend a wedding in Fiji. They planned to stay there for only 2 weeks, but when her mom attempted to enter the United States, her visa was denied. Amy's grandmother, also undocumented, moved to Everett to look after Amy and her siblings. So now Amy is 19 years old, and she was 11 when she last saw her parents. Without the support of DACA, she will never be able to complete her nursing degree, and without a work permit, her livelihood and that of her family is at stake. Her story is compelling, but it's not unique. And what you've been hearing ever since the president's announcement to rescind DACA is the stories of people who represent the 800,000 people who benefit from DACA, and as Senator Hirono said, the millions of others who did not step forward to actually attain the DACA status. And so what we know is that our work is to make sure that we finalize for once and for all the opportunity for these dreamers to be able to count this country truly as their own, not for a year, not for 2 years, but permanently, so that we can take advantage of all that they have already contributed and all that they will contribute. It is personal for me. because I too, like Senator Hirono, am an immigrant who came here with nothing in my pockets and today stand here as the first Indian American woman ever elected to the House of Representatives. But it's also political because for the last 20 years I was on the outside leading an immigrant advocacy group that has fought not only for the DREAM Act but for comprehensive immigration reform so that we can once and for all remember that immigration has never just been about immigration. Immigration has always been about who we are as a country and what we're willing to stand up for. Passing a clean DREAM Act, the DREAM Act of 2017, in the next month is what allows us to stand on the right side of history. So to the AAPI community, to the dreamers, to all dreamers from every walk of life, I want to say that it has always been your courage and your resilience that has pushed this issue to the forefront of our moral consciousness. And I thank you because I know that there's a lot of work and a lot of work both here in Congress and in the streets that we'll need to do. Thank you so much.
We are going to end our press conference by hearing from two dreamers. First, I'd like to call up Jungbin Cho, a South Korean dreamer from Springfield, Virginia, and a graduate from Virginia Tech with a bachelor's in business.
Thank you, Congressional Caucus on Asian Pacific American, Chairwoman Judy Chu, Congresswoman Jayapal, and Senator Hirono for supporting us. I'm part of NACASEC, a national Korean American organization that just completed DREAM Action, a 22-day round-the-clock visual at the White House. We did this because our Asian American DACA Menta community members, like myself, wanted to stand up for DACA after 10 states announced that they would sue the government if he did not rescind DACA. My name is Jungbin Cho. My family moved to the United States from South Korea in 2001. My parents decided to leave South Korea to attain the American dream for their children to get the best education possible. I have been in Virginia since I came to the United States when I was only 7 years old. I enrolled in first grade in Annandale, Virginia, and 16 years later proudly graduated from Virginia Tech with a Bachelor's of Science in Business, concentrating in Business Information Technology. The road to graduating college in the United States with no documentation was tough, but with hard work and the mentality to never give up, I was able to overcome tough obstacles and challenges. Even with DACA, I had to maintain working 2 jobs while having an internship and still managing to be a full-time student because I had to pay out-of-state tuition my first year of college. My parents also worked long hours and 7 times a week to help support our family. I was eligible to apply for DACA when President Obama announced it in 2012 and had it ever since. I can remember how frustrating it was my senior year in 2013 because even though I had excellent grades to go to college, I didn't have the financial resources to attend the college that I wanted to go to. My DACA is set to expire in September 2018, and I cannot renew anymore because of the cutoff deadline. While we were doing the DREAM Action, we found that 8 out of 10 people supported us. So Congress and President Trump needs to listen to the majority of our fellow Americans. We need a permanent solution so we no longer have to worry about our futures. We call on Congress to act quickly and to pass a clean DREAM Act that is good for all our community members. This must be done before DACA expires. Thank you.
And now, Chirayu Patel from Chicago, Illinois. He's a South Asian dreamer and the founder of the DACA Network of Chicago.
Thank you, Congresswoman Chu, and all the elected officials standing behind me. I also want to thank Suman Rangunatham with SALT, without whom I would not be here, and along with all the South Asian as well as immigrant organizations that have been organizing, whether it's in Chicago or across the country, so that I can stand here and share my story. Thank you. Like Jung and Ivy said, my story is not too different from them. I came here with my family in September of 1994 with a visa. We have been trying to resolve our immigration status for over 23 years now. My parents have paid income taxes, property taxes, and business taxes. However, besides a change in law, there is no way for my brother and I, who are in undocumented status, to become legal permanent residents and citizens of the United States. Over the years, we've built a life here. My brother and I have gone to elementary school, middle school, high school, and colleges here. I graduated with honors. So did my brother, and he also received his doctorate in pharmacy. The decision by President Obama in 2012 to enact the Deferred Action program was a consequential day for me, because I realized that this was maybe the first step for me to earn my American citizenship. However, last week's decision by President Trump turns that whole thing upside down. The fact that, as others have mentioned, we do not want to be used as bargaining chips in the political gamesmanship between the parties. We are requesting that the Congress pass a Clean Dream Act as soon as possible. My brother and I have been the first people to graduate from college, and I know that's true for a lot of the other people that are standing behind me, as well as elected officials that are standing behind me as well. So it is now time for Congress to make a decision whether they're going to support us or if they're going to stand in the way of progress. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Dreamers, for telling your stories. I want to also thank our Congress members for coming out and showing their strong support for a DREAM Act bill. And we will now end our press conference, and I'm sure people will be available for individual interviews. Thank you all very much.